Hi, and welcome back to Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And I've got the morbs.
What?
Okay, sorry. I just had to throw that in somewhere. It means temporary melancholia, and it was like super popular in the Victorian era. While I was doing research for this episode, that popped up somewhere. That was like, This was a popular phrase. I don't even know how I ended up there.
The morbs.
But I've got the morbs.
I would like to know things that were said back then that died off, like phrases.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Speaking of history and research, bet you're wondering what we're talking about today.
For the sake of... Yeah, I am.
Do you even remember?
I do.
The RMS Queen Mary. The ship, which was once a passenger and mail ship out of England, hence the name Queen Mary, it has a rich history and an even richer list of claims of ghost sightings. It was actually deemed by Time magazine one of the top 10 most haunted places in America.
What?
Yes.
It's a ship.
It's a ship.
Top 10 most haunted places.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean...
That's interesting.
You're in a place if you're on it, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Today, it serves as a hotel for paranormal enthusiasts everywhere, if you'd like to visit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where?
It's in Long Beach, California now.
Okay.
So if we ever head on down to Long Beach...
I would love to do that.
Me too, especially after doing this research.
Oh, okay. I'm excited
Ready?
now.
So our teas this week are actually individual teas. Natalie regrets her decisions.
A mistake.
Mine is the Republic of Tea Earl Greyer.
Mine is red velvet chocolate something from Republic of Tea.
Yeah.
And I picked it before I knew that I didn't like chocolatey things for tea. I love chocolate. And so I thought this was going to be good. And then I put the tea bag in there. But I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, you haven't tried it yet. So who knows? You might enjoy it.
Okay.
Let's
Ready?
go.
No. But shout out to Macy for the mug.
Oh, yeah.
She got me this cute little mug. And I love it so much.
You're welcome.
And hers is very cute too.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, it tastes kind of like if you ever had like a Christmas stocking with a lot of chocolate in it, and you kind of forgot about it, and you left it sitting in like your closet for 4 months, and then you open the bag, and like that smell hits you of like kind of like old chocolate. Kind of what that tastes like.
Very specific situation.
I've been in that situation, so yeah.
That's sad.
I know.
Mine's
if you like
great.
chocolate, yeah, this is good for you. I just don't like chocolate in my like tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yours smells really good, and I'm sad.
Mine's really good. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm sorry that yours is disappointing. I'm very satisfied with my option.
Yeah. The horrors persist, but so do I.
That is the best meme.
I want that on a shirt.
Okay, let's do it.
We could do like the horrors persist, but so do I, and it could be like a ghost instead of a hamster.
With sunglasses on?
Yeah.
I like that.
That's really funny.
As we usually do, we're going to start with a story.
Whoop.
The December before the pandemic, my husband and I attended a party on the Queen Mary and rented a room on the ship for the occasion. After the party ended around 11 p.m., we changed our clothes into something more comfortable because I wanted to wander the ship and explore. They kicked everyone off the ship who wasn't staying the night there. We spent a couple of hours wandering that amazing ship inside and out. Before we finished up, we went back down to the level that the party had been on, only now it was completely empty. Same level as the pool, by the way, which they had closed up, but you could still look through the windows, which I absolutely did. I spent a good 5 minutes with my face pressed up to those windows before we walked on. I didn't see anything. After walking down a short hallway, we were in the enormous ballroom, which had been so bustling just a few hours earlier. Just then, from the direction of the pool, came a loud child's laugh coming towards us, as if a little kid was running our direction down the hallway, laughing loudly. I immediately lock eyes with my husband. It's just a kid, he says dismissively, but there is no kid.
Oh my God.
We are alone on that entire floor. I look at my watch and it says 1:01 a.m. We go back to our room, seeing no one else along the way. We discussed how we never saw any children that night, even during the party, which was for 21 and over. So why would we? We went to sleep feeling in awe and a tad eerie. I can still hear that laughter in my mind, clear as day.
I hate it.
It's ominous.
Yup. Laughter.
There are lots of children's sightings on board the Queen Mary that we'll get into, but yeah.
That's interesting. You want to know something scary? This is random. It has nothing to do with children.
Yes.
I was at work today. I'm not even kidding. Everybody left and it was just me. Everybody took their lunch at the same time after I came back from mine. Everyone was gone. I knew they were gone. But my boss's son, he works sometimes like there and just like does stuff. And so I heard, like, in the little, like, kitchen area, I heard drawers shutting. And I was like, oh, he still must be here. And then when everybody got back, I realized he was never there.
That's spooky.
And I have no idea why that happened. I know.
I mean, you are in close proximity to a funeral home.
True, but
I don't know
people
if they
don't
cross the
die
parking lot.
at funeral homes. People
Yeah.
are already dead, you know?
Yeah, but
Hopefully. Anyways.
Yeah.
Just had to tell you that. I forgot to tell you that today. It scared me really bad and I don't want to think about it or talk about it. So I just like didn't tell anyone because
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't call me immediately.
well, I realized when everybody was back. So I was just kind of like, okay. Yeah. Freaked me out.
Are you going to be able to go back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
Are you ever going to be able to be alone in there again?
gonna turn my chair.
That's so creepy, dude.
I know, I don't really want to talk about it that much anymore. I just wanted to tell you because it scared me really bad.
You didn't get hurt? It didn't
No.
scare you? So you didn't get a bad feeling?
No, I just thought it was the guy.
Well, then it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Just a little ghosty. Okay. Like anything we talk about, it's best if we start at the beginning. What is the history of the RMS Queen Mary? It was originally known as Job Number 534 as it was being built by Cunard Line, which eventually merged with the company that owned the Titanic, by the way,
Ooh.
just so you know.
Interesting.
Construction began in 1930 in Clydebank, Scotland, with the intention of building something groundbreaking.
It always starts that way.
Yeah, like
They're
we're going
always
to do something
We're gonna do
great.
something crazy, and it's like, oh, well, you did.
Well, this isn't as bad. Like, this isn't anywhere as tragic or anything like the Titanic.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're fine. The company's other ships were getting older and becoming outdated, and Cunard Line wanted to play a part in transforming transatlantic travel. And they were well on their way with this new build. Though construction stalled a bit because of the Great Depression, the company spared no expense, and it was eventually ready for passengers by 1936. The ship was and is still massive. It was larger than the Titanic in all aspects and decorated beautifully in the style of like the Art Deco movement of the 20s and 30s. So think like The Great Gatsby. It was covered in 50 different types of wood from all over the world, 6 of which are now extinct. Interestingly.
Oh, that's sad.
A little.
I don't
yeah,
like that thought.
of extinct
That anything
trees.
going extinct.
Yeah. And it was even called by some the Ship of the Woods because it just had so many different types of wood. I like that
I love when
nickname.
people get creative.
We talk about a lot of creative names.
I know. It's like there was a dark hooded figure and they're like, the hooded man. Okay.
Yes, like very often. The ship was accented with marble and glass and full of carvings and decorated murals. It boasted 5 dining halls, 2 cocktail bars, 2 swimming pools, a grand ballroom, a squash court, a small hospital, and 3 different classes of rooms that you could purchase on your week-long voyage between Southampton and New York.
Wow.
It was classy.
In the 30s. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was really nice. My favorite part about the making of the Queen Mary is the name. So it's rumored that because Cunard Line had a tendency to name their ships with names ending in IA, they had plans to dub the new beauty the Queen Victoria to kind of fall in line. While consulting with King George on the building of the ship, they told him that they decided to name the ship after England's greatest queen. And King George was very happy with the news and said, "My wife, which was Queen Mary, will be delighted that you're naming the ship after her." To possibly save themselves from embarrassment, they were just like, "Oh yeah, of course,
Queen
it's
Mary.
the Queen Mary,
That's
sir."
hilarious.
I mean, that's just rumor, but
But I believe it.
I believe it, and I love it. That's my favorite.
Hilarious.
So it departed from Southampton, England for the first time on May 27th, 1936, full of excited passengers ready to enjoy the luxurious 5-day voyage to the US. It is said that a well-known psychic in England, Lady Mabel Fortescue Harrison, predicted on the day of its maiden voyage that the Queen Mary will know her greatest fame and popularity when she never sails another mile or carries another fare-paying passenger. Looking at how popular it remains today, I'd say she may not have been far off. So, a pretty good psychic. I mean, it's been almost 100 years and we're sitting here talking about it. So,
That's awesome. I love that.
it was arguably one of the grandest ocean liners in the world at the time and played host to a slurry of celebrities and famous guests, including Bob Hope, Clark Gable, Walt Disney, another time we've mentioned him.
He has his hands in everything.
Everything.
Scary.
The Duke and Duchess of Windsor, and Winston Churchill.
Hmm.
Side note, I wonder if Walt Disney took his trip aboard the Queen Mary to go investigate for fairies.
Interesting
I wonder if
theory.
it's the same time.
It's interesting that we're talking about this with our Disney-themed mugs.
That is very interesting.
I love it.
Me too. But moving on. Not only was it stunning, but it was also very fast. It set a new speed record twice. capable of speeds upwards of 32 knots, which is something like 36 miles per hour.
Okay,
I had no
say,
clue. That's like sea talk, and I am not of the sea.
No, me neither.
That's 36 miles per hour for a just massive liner.
Huh.
It's pretty cool.
That is.
Because of its size and speed, it docked in September of 1939 in New York for the last time to let off civilian passengers until the end of World War II, and it was outfitted to serve the British Navy.
For some reason in my head, I'm picturing something strictly made out of wood. I know
No.
I know, like in my mind, I know because like by 1930, obviously like they were building with metal and doing all that.
Think Titanic, but a little bigger.
But for some reason in my head, this ship is made out of wood. And
There's a lot of wood detailing.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like
it's
need
not
to
like
see a
the big
picture.
sailboats like the Columbus sailed on.
I am imagining like a cruise ship just made out of wood.
That would be terrifying.
I need to see a photo.
I'll show you one
soon. Yeah, not at all what I was picturing. But
Yeah,
nice.
it's not
okay.
wooden.
I can visualize it correctly now. I know 1930 wasn't even 100 years ago, but in my mind it's like, could we even communicate
Do
yet?
we have
like,
fire?
Yeah, like it seems so far off, but it's really not.
Yeah, not really in the grand scheme of things.
No.
So they painted the entire ship gray for World War II, stripped it of all unnecessary luxury amenities, and sealed all windows and potholes and sealed all windows and portholes so light could not be seen emanating from the ship at night while it was sailing the open water. It was called the Gray Ghost,
Ooh.
which is interesting
like
that it's full of ghosts now. And it was the largest and fastest troop ship moving Allied troops to the front lines at the time. It even set the record during World War II, which I believe is still held today, of the most people to ever be carried on a ship.
What?
And it carried over 16,500 troops and crew members across the Atlantic.
That's horrifying.
Yeah,
We don't even have to get into our fear of the sea, but
yeah, no.
not happening.
So it was such a force out on the waters that Hitler offered a $250,000 bounty and a Knight's Cross to any U-boat captain that could sink it. The ship was never even shot at.
Nice.
Because of the great threat on the Queen Mary and the pivotal role it played, the ship took loads of precautions while out on open water, including traveling in a zigzag pattern to avoid any possible run-ins with a U-boat, so that, like, if the U-boat were to lock on and try to shoot a torpedo at it, it would be in a different position already by the time it was able to get its shot out.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And it was because it was just so fast.
But 36 or whatever miles an hour just doesn't seem fast.
It's very fast, especially, it was like the fastest ship on the waters at the time. So it was faster than the U-boats.
Interesting. Okay. It just seems like slow motion fighting. I don't know.
Yeah. But I don't know, when it's just so massive, that's just like, I don't know. I truly don't know anything.
I know nothing.
But the Queen Mary was, however, involved in a great disaster in the time of war. Though it was not ever shot at, it still had something very bad happen. In October of 1942, it was near the coast of Ireland when it collided with an escort ship, the HMS Curaçao. The Queen Mary was something like 20 times larger than the Curaçao, and on collision, sliced the ship in half with minimal damage to the front of its own ship.
Oh my gosh.
It was on strict orders to continue on no matter what, and was unable to stop and help the troops and crew on board the Curaçao. So it just had to keep going, and they just called for, like, the Coast Guard or whatever was out there. By the time another ship that could assist arrived at the scene of the crash, the Curaçao had sunk. It said that it took only about 6 minutes for the ship to completely go down, and only 101, some sources say 99, but somewhere between 99 and 101 of the 440 passengers on board perished in the frigid water.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
And
that's really scary and sad.
Yeah, it's devastating. And these aren't the only World War II deaths connected to the Queen Mary either. Though records weren't kept for security purposes on board of the ship, it is supposed by historians and archivists that there was a burial at sea every 4 hours while transporting soldiers. Because a lot of them were, like, wounded and being transported home and back and forth to front lines and stuff. And it was kind of tight quarters. And it also transported prisoners of war back and forth too. So if they died, I mean, they just kind of, like, unceremoniously.
Oh my God.
There were also stories of soldiers who would jump ship as the ship left New York Harbor, and there's no telling how many of the men actually survived the jump.
Why?
Not wanting to go off to war, I guess.
That's valid.
I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, they signed up.
Did they all sign up, or was there like a draft?
I don't know if there was a draft in World War II. I know there was for, like, the Vietnam War, but
Wendy
I don't know
Weather,
about World War II.
If you're watching this, tell us
Let
the
us
facts.
know.
Please, history drag queen of TikTok, tell us the answers. Because I'm not a history person.
I
know
am not either, really.
Like the fun facts that I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the details.
All the small little things.
But yeah. Because I mean, if I was drafted to war though, I'd jump ship.
Would you?
Heck yeah. I would rather perish on my own like volition than like be taken to war and see all that stuff. Like
maybe it's the Mulan in me, but like I'd have to like bring honor to my family, like
Nah.
to go fight and try to win.
not me.
Or die trying.
I would let y'all know like, hey, I'm gonna jump. Like, come help me out later. Like, I'm gonna
If
swim
I
over
survive,
this way. Yeah,
because that's a long fall.
true. But if you go like pencil, I feel like you'll
Probably
be fine.
Maybe break your legs
Maybe.
and then not be able to get out of the water.
That's horrible.
That's
Okay,
terrifying.
continue.
Let's move on. Another near catastrophic event happened upon the ship during the war when a rogue wave measuring 92 feet high crashed over the ship, tipping it to within 3 degrees of capsize with nearly 15,000 people on board. If it had tilted 3 more degrees, it would have just totally sunk and lost all crew and troops and everything.
That is horrifying.
Yeah.
I can just imagine like the soundtrack of people going, ah! That's just in my head.
Luckily, they survived. So
Was
can
it
laugh.
Finding Nemo when they're like, swim to the other side? You know what I'm talking about?
yeah. Or like they're swim down.
Oh, was it swim down?
Yeah.
It's like swim down. That's
Yeah,
like
'cause they're
people
caught in a
running
net.
to the other side of the ship. That's bad. Okay.
Anyway, the ship carried an estimated 810,000 military personnel during World War II. And one of those people, as we mentioned before, was Winston Churchill. At least 3 times that was documented. On one of these trips across the ocean, it is said that the Normandy invasion was planned and that the D-Day Declaration was signed. So very important to history. By the end of World War II, the ship had traveled carrying troops over 600,000 miles.
Wow.
In 1946, it was used as transport for 22,000 war brides and children in 13 voyages from Europe to the United States.
War brides.
I had to look this up.
Okay.
So, like when the U.S. troops would go overseas, they would meet these like British and French and wherever they were stationed ladies, fall in love, get married, and when the war was over, the American troops went back to America. So like all of their brides followed them with their children and stuff
willingly.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they
'Cause
weren't
I'm
like, I married
skeptical.
her, she's my property.
I
no,
know. I'm skeptical.
no,
but
they were
okay.
like, my husband survived the war. Let's go to
Oh,
America and live
okay.
with him. Yeah.
That's okay. Cool.
So all good things. all
okay,
good
because at
things.
first when you said that, I was like,
10 months after this, the ship was restored to its former glory and began running as a passenger ship once more. During its nearly 30 years as a passenger ship, it carried more than 2.2 million people and made many great and not so great memories for people all over the world.
this is all positive so far. Like, what's about to happen?
Yeah, no, it's all fairly good.
Okay.
And that's like one of the, we'll get into it, like one of the theories that like it's so haunted because it's just so, like that's a place,
Positive energy.
yeah, so much positive energy and so much happiness.
Okay.
So maybe. After 1,000 transatlantic crossings, the RMS Queen Mary was sold to the city of Long Beach, California for $3.45 million in 1967, which is nearly $32 million today. The speed that air travel provided for people looking to go back and forth from the US to Europe caused ticket sales for the ship to dwindle, and on October 31st, 1967, the Queen Mary took its final 1,001st journey to the west coast of America.
So when that girl said it was 101 at the beginning of her story.
Oh, interesting. I didn't make that connection.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
that's why you were saying that.
No, I said it because she said it. I don't know.
Interesting.
She was very specific about the
Well,
time.
because it made 1,001, and when she looked at her watch, it was at 101.
That's interesting. That's an interesting connection.
Because isn't that why she said it? I was waiting for the
I think
connection.
she just meant like she looked at her watch. It was past 1 o'clock in the morning. Why would there be children out on the boat?
I don't know. Because I mean, it's pretty
Frolicking.
specific. 101.
Maybe it was a typo. I don't know.
I'd like to make the connection.
I like that connection too. We can keep it in our minds. I mean,
Okay, I was supposed to say, you can edit it out.
no, we can keep that in our minds. It was welcomed to Long Beach with a convoy of around 5,000 small crafts in its wake on December 9th, where it has remained ever since as a popular attraction, hotel, event venue, and paranormal hotspot for millions of visitors. It had many corporations managing its operations since then, including Disney at one point. Everywhere. Disney's
What
everywhere.
do they not do?
I felt it necessary to mention here that Disney did attempt to play up the rumors of hauntings and unexplainable happenings that had already kind of existed on the ship.
To bring people.
By opening a haunted mansion-esque attraction on board. So it's kind of like the prototype for the haunted mansion, just like aboard the Queen Mary.
Walt Disney was a guy.
A spooky dude. Yeah.
A guy.
He was interesting.
Just a guy being a dude. That's interesting. Why did all roads point back to Walt Disney?
We fall into some conspiracies.
Scary. I don't like that.
The haunted room is actually one of the rooms that's supposed to house the darkest and most sinister spirits today, or even thought of today. There were moving floorboards, lights that would flicker on and off, and strange noises that could be heard through the walls that they made happen.
Oh, okay.
So like they added these to the attraction.
Okay.
And I think this helped with all the confusion and mystery that really surrounds the ship today, because it's hard to tell where facts meet fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And like what has actually been experienced by people. Like, are they talking about the time that they went and Disney had made the ship spooky?
Yeah.
Or are they talking about actual spirits?
Okay, now I'm skeptical.
I don't know.
Always skeptical.
Not all of it can be summed up with this though.
Okay.
But it is something that I felt very necessary to mention, because I gotta throw in everything.
Yeah.
Disney's operations didn't last very long, and the ship is now run, once again, by the city of Long Beach, where it is now open to the public as a hotel for events and for a plethora of tours, including many haunted tours. And that's what I'd want to go do.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
There are rumored to be hundreds of spirits lurking the corridors of the ship day and night. We don't know the death count on board in totality, but over the years, archivists and historians have searched through ship logs and other media and have found more than 50 deaths on the ship of not only crew members but passengers as well. Which, side note, something I heard, something like 200 people die on cruise ships a year.
And they put them in the freezer?
Well, most of them have morgues.
I know,
but
like,
some of them do put them next to like the frozen meat for dinner.
No, I was gonna say, because I thought that's where you were going. I saw a TikTok, I don't know how true it was.
Yeah.
But I saw a video where someone said, like, if they're ever like giving away a bunch of ice cream or something like that on the cruise ship out of nowhere for free, it's because they've ran out of room in the morgue and someone died, so they had to stick them there.
Interesting.
I hope it's not true, but my God.
Might be. I mean, 200 people on cruises a year.
What? Oh my God.
At least they're removing the ice cream and not just keeping it there.
True. I mean, you never know.
In 1936, the year the Queen Mary took its maiden voyage, the first captain of the ship, Sir Edgar Britton, passed away in his cabin of a stroke, and people still claim to smell the smoke from cigars he liked to smoke around where his cabin was.
Interesting.
During the war, a particularly horrible event was rumored to have taken place in the kitchens.
Oh no.
The cook at the time treated his crew so badly that there was a mutiny, and they tossed him into a walk-in oven and turned it on.
Hey.
They're
Been there.
We're tired of it.
Worked in food service. Been there.
In 1949, I'm just going to skip over that.
I mean, I'm on their side. Whatever he did, yeah.
In 1949, after getting permission from his captain to go into his quarters and drink from his bottle of gin, Second Officer William Stark passed 3 days later from carbon tetrachloride poisoning.
What is that from?
The bottle contained the chemicals and not the alcohol Stark thought it did. So it's like cleaner, like
Did someone
cleaning
poison
solution.
him?
No, I think it was an accident. Like there
I
were
hope so.
like 2 bottles of gin in his cabin or something, and one contained cleaner and the other contained gin, and he drank the cleaner.
How would you not know?
There were some stories that say he drank it and was like, this is not gin. And they're like, hey, we should probably like pump your stomach. And he's like, nah, I'm good. And was not, in fact, good.
Oh, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm. There was not only all of the death, destruction, and negative energy from the war still resting within its walls, but all of the good times had by guests over the decades, like we discussed. And it could have left a permanent mark and like residual energy still today. The Queen Mary is also rumored to be the site of a vortex or portal. Many psychics have come on board and said there's definitely a portal here.
How? If it's not like a stationary... I don't know how portals work. Whatever. Just keep going.
Like, we can't get into that.
We can't do that right now.
In the early 90s, the company running the daily operations of the ship hired a parapsychologist named Christopher Chacon to conduct some research to find out if there were any claims that could be proven. After 18 months of a thorough investigation using state-of-the-art technology for the time and interviews with more than 1,500 people, he said 30% of the 12,000 events that he documented were unexplainable by natural causes or under any scientific discipline.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
30%. That's kind of a
solid number.
Yeah.
The Gray Ghost Project uses all the current tools and methods to take a skeptical approach to ghost hunting aboard the Queen Mary today. So they're still continuing on their investigations. You can even join the Grey Ghost Project on board in a tour at night to help along with their investigations, which is really cool. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to do it. I think I would.
You probably
If I'm
would.
in a group.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't.
I would not.
There are plenty of claims to investigate and plenty of spirits that are seen by many with no known connection via a death to the ship, which is very interesting.
Very. I'm still just like kind of confused.
Why?
I don't know. Like I know there was like a lot of energy and like war just brings probably unimaginable stress. I don't even know. Never been to war. But I don't know. Like it all sounds like, I don't know. Just, I don't know.
You may change your mind. Many guests and employees alike have heard strange noises, seen people in one area of a room, and seconds later they vanish. Like solid people. They see them. They're like, who are you? Why are you here? And they turn back and they're gone. Water faucets in rooms turn on and off, and not just because Disney made it so. Same with lights. And they hear conversations in whispered tones when there's nobody else around. There is one man spotted often that they just call the tall man. That's all I've heard him being called, the tall man. He is tall with dark hair and an outfit straight out of the 30s. Very creative. More creative names. And walks around in common areas of the ship, often seen smiling and waving at people before he disappears.
No.
I just got like creepy.
I hated that
feeling.
Mm-mm.
Guests have seen the tall man in their rooms appearing at the edge of their bed and is often blamed for some of the spooky things that happen in the guest rooms, like phones ringing with no one on the other line and knocking on their doors.
Okay.
He's just like enjoying his time and never left. Like, this is a great ship. That's a great way to spend my afterlife.
Oh, I don't like it. Showing up at the edge of the bed really got it for me.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
I don't want to be disturbed in my slumber. That is in this world,
number one rule.
That's the only thing that I want. That's the main, I hold that it is so sacred to me.
Yeah.
My sleep. And just having that disturbed is just unforgivable for me.
One spirit that is spotted often who has a reputable backstory is that of John Petter. He was an 18-year-old man, part of the crew aboard the Queen Mary in 1966.
18-year-old man? That's a boy.
Yes,
I know technically, but adult.
He was out there working on a giant engine room of a cruise ship. Like,
that's crazy.
He was doing man's work, okay? He was on his 5th trip over the Atlantic and was working down near the engine room when a routine drill had commenced. All of the watertight doors were being sealed to check their function when the operator of the drill noticed something wrong with door number 13. He sent some of the crew down to check, where they found Petter trapped in the half-closed door, a foot on each side.
No.
When they were able to finally free him, he was not conscious and had a deep laceration across his body from his shoulder down to his liver. He was rushed to the ship hospital, but there was nothing that could be done.
That's horrible.
John Petter passed away that evening, and nobody is sure why the man, having been through these drills a number of times, had attempted to cross the door while they were closing. There are theories that maybe he was playing a game of chicken with the door to see if he could leap through.
No.
In time.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense because apparently it's like you have to like step over and like kind of duck if you're tall enough, and
also like
why?
Yeah.
Others believe that he may have dropped a tool on the other side and was attempting to grab it before the door shut completely because he didn't, who knows how long he would be before the door opened again and he needed his tool. This last theory makes more sense to me anyway, and many other patrons and the crew on the ship. They've heard a gruff voice whisper in their ears asking if they've seen their wrench while in the area.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. That's really sad though. He was just a boy.
I know.
That's
really sad. He's also supposedly seen in the rooms outside of the door 13 as a young bearded man in blue coveralls traipsing through the halls.
That's pretty sad.
He's also been seen in the corridors and elevators around the engine room, disappearing behind door 13, pulling on people's clothes and purses, and leaving greasy handprints on surfaces in the area.
Oh, God.
In the 80s, there was a crew member walking toward the engine room when she got a sudden feeling that someone else was in the room with her. She turned around and saw a man standing on like the escalator below her, and she had never seen the man before, and she was immediately frightened. No reason at all. It's just like, this isn't right. As she reached for her radio to call for somebody, she looked back and the man was gone. Nowhere to be found. Nowhere for him to have gone either. There was another experience with door 13 on a tour through the ship. As the group stepped through door 13, one of the men got a strong, tight feeling across his chest that was just unexplainable. Like nothing was pressing on him, nothing. He just had that feeling. And he, thinking of nothing of it, he kind of like quietly mentioned it to the tour guide, and they're like, oh, weird, like maybe energy. And they went on about the tour as normal. Later that night, when he went back to his room and took his shirt off, he had a long red laceration or bruise across his chest where he felt that tight feeling earlier that day.
Scary. I don't like that.
Further down into the engine room, a paranormal investigator had set up a recording device while he conducted his investigation. And while listening back to the tapes, he could distinctly hear a man's voice say, "Get out," while he was in the middle of a conversation with another guest on the Queen Mary.
Scary.
Like
I'd get
actual
out.
recording.
I would get out. That's your only option.
Same.
Leave.
Well, he didn't hear it until he went back and was like looking through all of his tapes and stuff. Another possible death turned haunting is that of a man dubbed John Henry. He is rumored to have been a part of the crew building the ship when he passed away around the boiler room and never left. People claim to see a man looking down at them from a hole in the wall, as well as having their cheek caressed and being pushed by a disembodied hand.
No.
And like in many other parts of the ship, people can hear clanking and banging around them as if someone is working on the ship. Like some tools.
See,
like
that's
doing
not
work.
as scary, but don't touch me.
Yeah.
Do your work. Do
There's
your
lots
thing.
of touching here.
Whatever. Don't touch me. That's not in real life. Not in this life. Not in the next one. None of them. I hate that.
Same. It's believed that the vortex or portal may be down here near the boiler room and an engine room area.
Okay.
So lots of activity going on down there.
Are we going to get deep into this portal thing?
No.
Okay. I don't want to.
No. Another time.
I can't.
There are some chilling rumors told about a few of the rooms on board, and all of the most intense hauntings seem to be on the B deck. One of the rooms with the saddest story is that of room B474. The legend goes that a family of 4 was staying on the Queen Mary after taking a vacation abroad. There was the mother, the father, and 2 young girls named Penny and Dana. Before they could reach their destination, this family of 4, the father seemingly strangled his wife and Penny in their room, then went to the bathroom where Dana was hiding, shot her, and then killed himself after the horrendous deed was done. The story is horrendous and seems to be fabricated.
Oh, thank
It's
God.
not even real. That's like a very huge legend aboard the Queen Mary, though.
Oh,
like everyone
why
talks
are we
about
even
it.
talking about it then? 'Cause
Everyone talks about it.
And it's just fake?
Yeah. There are no known deaths in this manner on the ship, though many people claim to have made contact with Dana roaming the halls near the room and calling out for her mother. Kind of maybe a story made up
Like,
to match the child that they see. So kind of giving her a backstory maybe.
okay.
One theory that I heard like one of the crew members, like tour guides, giving was that this crime took place in the States while the young girl's grandmother was on board the ship. So it's possible that maybe the child went looking for her grandma for help and knew she was on the ship and like kind of stayed and is there playing that loop.
I don't know.
Very interesting thought though.
I don't know.
Regardless, a young girl has been spotted many times wandering around B deck and in some of the cargo areas as well in the area. Another young girl spotted on the Queen Mary is referred to as Jackie. She's probably one of the most encountered ghosts on the ship, and I think she's my favorite. I always have a favorite ghost.
I know.
Jackie's this one. Both the first class and second class pools have been closed for many years. There's no water in them, but many people claim to see young Jackie in and around the empty pool area. Actually, I think the second class pool was turned into like a 4D theater or something, some part of the museum. She can be heard giggling and talking, sometimes calling out for her mommy, and some have even claimed to have played a game of peekaboo with her. Like she hides behind a pillar.
No.
Yeah, I hate that. It's giving horror film.
That's really scary.
She can sometimes be heard singing songs and seems to like it when guests sing to her. Some people claim to have seen tiny wet footprints around the edge of the pool, like appear, though, like I said, it's been empty for decades. There's no water. Like Alton.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
One paranormal investigator named Peter James supposedly had a 10-minute long conversation with her in 1991. Like it's recorded. Now there are no records of anyone, let alone a small child drowning in the pool aboard the Queen Mary. So where did Jackie come from? Don't know.
I don't know.
But she is seen often, like by so many people. People who don't even know about Jackie see Jackie. One story that sent chills down my spine was of a security guard walking the corridors of the ship at night. He was passing through the pool area when he spotted a young girl standing all alone, like just a child. The girl turned around and noticed the security guard standing there and smiled. So the security guard's like, "Hey, where's your mom and dad? Like, what are you doing out here?" And she turned around and her arms outstretched, like she wanted to be picked up, and was like walking swiftly toward him. So he like bent down to pick her up, and she disappeared.
I would have had been committed somewhere.
Just run away.
I don't know, hospital, any other facility. I would have had to go away.
I feel like you talk about being committed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this, are you trying to tell us something?
This is actually my intervention. This isn't a podcast.
Another sighting near the pools is that of a young woman wearing a 30s style swimsuit. She will also leave wet footprints behind her as she walks toward the old changing rooms. And if you are around the pool, you may hear splashing sounds as if someone's playing in the water. Bill Sauter, an archivist and historian that worked with relics recovered from Titanic, and he worked aboard the Queen Mary for several years in the late 70s, has spotted a ghostly figure in the room with the first class pool. Very much 60s, and he's like, we're almost to the 80s, ma'am. Like, why are you wearing this?
It's not cute. It's not vintage yet.
Yeah, it's not quite vintage. It's just
like, girl, what?
Yeah.
You're just out of style.
She had long blonde hair and big sunglasses on, and he was looking at her nearly face to face. The woman seemed to have been looking down at the ground as she walked through the corridor, and he was thinking maybe it was just like a passenger arriving like early to walk around and see the ship. Mm-hmm. So he thought maybe she'd have a question about the pool or the ship in general, and he walked up a couple of steps around a pillar and looked back down to ask her like, hey, you have any questions? And she was gone. Just disappeared. He saw her like face to face. It had only been like 2 seconds from the time he took his eyes off of her to when he turned around. So it obviously couldn't have been someone running away suddenly.
Her just taking off on a full sprint.
Just anything to avoid interaction with somebody.
I was going to say, because that is something I would do. So
he also realized after she had disappeared that she didn't make any noise on the linoleum floor.
Oh,
so like she should have been loud.
Tap.
Yeah. And it was completely silent.
Okay.
So he was like, okay, that was a little weird and unexplainable. He had several more encounters during his time working on the Queen Mary, and another really frightening one occurred once again near the pool. He said he was checking on a part of the ship that required him to lean over a side railing, kind of over the pool. And as he did so, he felt a push on his back. And he kind of like went on one foot, and just before he tumbled over, he felt two hands grab his shoulders and pull him back.
Was it the same? Do we think it was the same one just messing with him? Or was it one that was like, get out of here, and one was like, no.
I like to think it was someone like just
kidding,
messing with him, like, you're gonna fall. Just kidding.
Too
gotcha.
Close.
Yeah, don't like it. Don't like it. So nobody was in the area when that happened. And the crazy part, several hours later, he noticed 2 red marks on his shoulders where he felt the hands grab him.
I don't like it.
What do you say?
What are you going to do?
We have another lady in white. No haunting is complete without a lady in white. We have learned this. The Queen Mary's lady in white is spotted in the old first class lounge, which is now the Queen's Salon, and in the lobby near the piano too. She's wearing a 1930s style white evening gown, walks through the corridors near the elevator, and as if leaving a party from long ago.
I want to see these outfits.
Me too.
That you keep describing, like the 30s swimsuit and thing. I want to see what these people are saying. No, like you don't have to Google it. I can picture what it looks like, but like I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued by the fashion.
She's sometimes seen dancing alone to no music in the area by guests and staff alike. To see a lady in white like dancing as if she's still like in a party. Near the front of the ship, where Queen Mary had collided with the Curacao during World War II, some people claim to hear metal twisting and banging, and even water rushing into the ship as if being transported back in time somehow to the time of the crash. There are many spirits seen roaming the halls in military garb, and whispering and movement can be heard in the room that prisoners of war were held in the early 40s as well.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't either.
The most haunted room on board is room B340. So many guests claim to have terrifying experiences in the room that they closed the room down for many years. Now, I don't know for sure that they closed it down because it was just too haunted or if they had other plans like needed. But that's the story.
A plumbing issue or something, and we're all just like, oh, ghost.
Yes, the story goes that it was so haunted and they had so many complaints that they just closed it down and didn't allow guests to stay in it for a while.
Okay.
But it is now open for guests to stay in if you dare. Footsteps are heard walking inside the room at night when nobody is up. Cleaning staff will come in and find the faucet turned on when nobody has stayed in the room.
I just said it was a plumbing issue.
Yeah, I know. Guests hear the clothes hangers in the closet move at night. Hate that. I don't know what it is about closets.
Yeah. I
got
know
a lot
what
of
it is
things
about closets.
I used to hide in my closet and read.
I know. That's why I said that.
And furniture will move. And worst of all, guests claim to feel poking or cold hands grabbing them and even their comforter being ripped off of them in their sleep. Of course, the hotel plays it up, having instructions for how to play Bloody Mary written on the wall in the bathroom, and a Ouija board for guests to use in a chest in the room. They're like, oh, you think it's haunted? Let's conjure some spirits.
Okay, no wonder. People are just conjuring things up. Okay, that is starting to make sense now.
Yeah.
What?
If you can't tell, we do not recommend that you do these things.
No.
I watched another YouTuber that I follow. Her name's Haley Reese. And she talked about her time on the Queen Mary, and she was told that guests, mainly women, will get random bloody scratches on their bodies after being in that room. including her aunt. Like she went on board with her aunt and her mom, and her aunt had suddenly had like a long scrape down her leg that she had no recollection of getting, and just suddenly was bleeding. She also heard, like many others, growling in their ears when they entered the room.
I was about to say, okay, maybe it's like an animal. Because whenever you said like a long scratch, I'm like, maybe someone just like brought their cat or something, and then the cat passed. You know, sad, but like, oh, it's just a cat, so it's like mischievous still.
Maybe.
That's what I'm going to believe.
That's a nice thought, but I don't think so.
I do.
Okay.
I do. And I will.
We can think that for the sake of Natalie. There are many rumors, none confirmed, of deaths that occurred in room B340. It is said that in 1948, a British passenger named Walter J. Adamson passed away within those walls under unknown circumstances. One story that stuck out to me was that of another passenger, a woman, in 1966 who was staying in room B340. She was sound asleep when her blanket was violently ripped off of her in the dark. It woke her up, and when she looked down at the end of her bed, there was a man standing there staring at her. She screamed and called for help, and then the man vanished.
The tall man.
It might be.
I hate that so much.
Regardless if all of these backstories are true or not, there's definitely something or many somethings lurking in the spirit realm on board the Queen Mary. This ship has a rich history, some tragic, and it only makes sense that ghosts would choose this ship as their stomping grounds, in my mind anyway.
I guess so.
Be it death or the best memories during their lifetime, something has drawn these spirits here to stay. For sure.
Yeah.
I think that many accounts of paranormal activities speak to the idea that a portal or vortex may be somewhere on that ship. Because if there aren't these like events, like really targeting these hauntings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's got to be something else pulling them there.
I just don't know. I guess I don't know enough about things like that, so I could just be making things up as I'm going. But like in the Galveston episode when we talked about that, like where, watch that episode if you haven't, but it's a good one. The rumor is there was not a zombie, Jesus Christ, a mummy buried, and then they built a house on top of it, and that created like a portal. That makes sense to me because it's like stationary, and there was one event, and there was like, you know, darkness, and they shouldn't have been messing with things from other countries and buried people and mummies and but like the ship, it's like,
well,
I don't know. We're just all
like in Galveston, and like we talked about in Alton, the water like attracts spirits too. So if it's like always constantly on water, I think it's grounded now, but like when it was just on water for many, many years with tons of energy flowing through it and some deaths, like I don't know, maybe something was created. Okay. In my mind, that's how I see it anyway.
I don't know. But when we talk about, I guess to me, like obscure like things like portals, I don't know anything about it. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sold, but it is very interesting and entertaining. You're not sold on the portal, or you're not sold on the haunting of the Queen Mary? Kind of both. Because I feel like, yeah, there's probably some, because I feel like anytime there's somewhere where a ton of people went, like
hotels in general.
Like, yeah, I believe there's probably a couple, but I feel like it is played up. And then like the Walt Disney thing and the attraction, I feel like it just gets hyped up and people can want to see something so bad that they do.
I saw a picture though.
Okay.
Of Jackie.
Oh.
Like there was a little girl peering over the side of a...
No.
So I mean, I don't know if I believe every story, obviously. No, I never believe every story, but there's something here.
I mean, I agree. I think I agree. It's just when something becomes such a big like, oh, it's haunted. It's like people will pull things out, but I believe in some of them.
Yeah, a lot of like legends get made up and
it had to come from somewhere. Yes. I believe that with everything like dragons and everything, like it had to come from somewhere.
Yes, I agree. I think we've talked about it.
I'm on board.
Okay. That's funny. To end off, we've got a couple of people's encounters aboard the Queen Mary. Some real life stories. When my mom was in her late teens, her friend's father was an employee on the now docked ship and hotel, the Queen Mary. My mother and her friend, being mischievous, decided to tour all the places inaccessible to guests and try to summon ghosts by taunting them. That's another thing. There's probably a lot of that on board.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere that's dubbed like the most haunted anything, people are always going to try and summon things. And they walked around below deck, in boiler rooms and hallways all over, shouting things like, "We don't believe in ghosts. Come out and prove us wrong."
No.
Then they reached the hole at the bow of the ship where it struck its escort in 1942, a mostly empty, cavernous area where their continued jeers echoed loudly off the metal walls. Suddenly, they heard what my mother describes as a deafening sound, made up of a combination of sounds. metal screeching, and the ship groaning, as well as a sort of high-pitched human screaming and low moaning filled the chamber. But these sounds were not distinct. They were all one sound, like a menacing, cursed throat song. It was a sound unlike anything they had ever heard, or would hear again. The two teens were utterly shocked and terrified. They reached the closest elevator as fast as they could, their game abruptly over and done, but the spirits evidently were not. As the elevator operator led them topside, the three were surrounded by unmistakable, prominent sound of rushing water. At this point, they wondered for a split second if they were being tricked, grasping for a logical explanation. To their horror, however, the operator was white as a sheet and hastily dialing for help on the elevator phone. Of course, there wasn't any water. The employee on the other end was overwhelmed and perplexed. But that sound persisted to swirl around them while they all too slowly approached the deck, and they could swear by it that the car was hastily filling up. The girls couldn't get off the Queen Mary fast enough. No one on board could explain what happened. Everyone was shaken. An encounter that lasted a matter of minutes seemed like hours and left the girls trembling and transformed. My mother never took the topic of ghosts lightly after that. She wouldn't let me have a Ouija board either.
Oh.
Good.
Good choice. Wow.
But, see, it could just be like teens, like, I don't know, having a shared moment. But the elevator operator was like, help!
Yeah.
We're filling with water!
That's scary.
It's terrifying.
Just water in general.
Don't taunt the spirits. Please. For the love of God. Please.
Or
for
do,
all of us.
and then tell us your story. So
if you do, tell us, but don't. This one was titled, I Saw a Man Get Physically Assaulted by a Ghost on the Queen Mary in 2012.
Okay.
While in California visiting my wife's family in summer of 2012, my wife, sister-in-law, and I decided to take a tour of the Queen Mary, the regular tour in the daytime. It was terrifyingly creepy, but a bit disappointing. What did you expect? And then as we were leaving, we saw that there were monthly tours at night with a psychic. You can bet we signed up for that in an instant.
Heck yeah.
I would too.
Me too.
The tour, about a week or two later, started around 9 p.m. and we waited to begin in one of the swanky bars on board ship where the piano had been seen playing by itself, because of course it had. There were maybe 8 to 9 people or so in our party, basically several couples ranging in age. While making small talk, we learned that several of them had traveled pretty far to be there. The couple next to us was apparently a retired Marine, mid-30s, typical ex-military look, serious vibe, and his girlfriend. Right then, the psychic turned up. We were all expecting some wizened old lady, thinking poltergeist here, but she couldn't have looked more different. More like a young Paula Abdul, very petite, 5 feet, polite, and soft-spoken. The tour began, and off we went. One of the first stops was the area around watertight door 13. The psychic began calling out, asking if he was there. Apparently, he was known to be a bit of a prankster to visiting tour groups, which we discussed. But she didn't get a reply. It was definitely more of authentic vibe than the daytime tour, though. So they were feeling it.
Like a little spooky. Well, it's nighttime, so you're already like
A little spooked
ready.
out.
Yeah.
As we walked away, she continued to tell us more about John and his previous ghostly antics, and suddenly Marine guy starts interjecting. Turns out he was a bit of a Queen Mary buff. In fact, this was apparently just one of the many trips that the Marine guy had made to the ship. So yeah, I guess the Queen Mary was his thing. Next, we walked toward the area where the Queen Mary had been impacted during World War II. The psychic explained this area was, not surprisingly, a hotbed of activity, and we all stood in the murky darkness to see if anyone was around. This would become a theme that night. She began to say she thought someone was there, perhaps John, who was apparently known to rove around the ship, and might have followed us from earlier. At this point, Marine guy, who's still joining in the conversation, agrees emphatically that he too felt it was John.
Okay.
We all thought, sure, Jan. But next, he casually added that he'd not only communicated with John on a previous visit, but that John had even followed him home before.
What?
At this point, it goes without saying, we were all a little weirded out by him.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, let's move on. But in all honesty, it wasn't just the things he said. He spoke in a very matter-of-fact way that made it clear he genuinely believed in what he was saying. Did he really have some latent psychic abilities or something? We giggled nervously and shuffled our feet, not sure what to think. So we continued on, eventually arriving at the Queen Mary's massive engine room. If you've ever visited the Queen Mary, you already know what a creepy space that is. They ripped out all the engines as one of the conditions of turning the ship into a floating hotel, so it couldn't move, which left this huge rusted cavernous space several stories high, looking like something out of Alien. At that moment, the psychic stops about 10 feet behind us, frozen. Looking white and with a pained expression, she insists she's not going any further. There was a small dark alcove and room ahead of us at the edge of the space. Chuckling nervously, we ask why not, and she tells us it's because Henry is here. We all ask, who? And she replies that while there's no records of Henry working the boiler room, that's apparently his name. He's an angry, malevolent figure that's often felt or heard around the area and terrorizes the Queen Mary staff. Calmly, she informs us we're free to go ahead into the small room at the end, but she'll be staying behind. I'd be right back there with her. Ordinarily, of course, that's where our fight or flight response should have kicked in. But we as tourists were like, we paid for a tour and we're going to get ourselves one. Gosh darn it. So yeah, we actually did go in by ourselves. That was indeed a real creepy space. The atmosphere inside felt genuinely oppressive, and most of us chuckled nervously before getting the heck out of there quickly back to the safety of the lit area where the psychic was standing. The tour continued until we reached apparently the most haunted part of the ship, the second-class swimming pool. Behind the empty swimming pool was the changing rooms, windowless, tiled alcoves along a narrow, dark corridor with a single small window at the end. This area felt dark and cold and simply unlike anywhere else. It was obviously the high psychic point of the tour. As we were urged to spread out into various alcoves facing each other, the psychic informed us she was going to turn the dim lights out and see if we could make contact. He said, nope, nope, nope. She was serious though, and a second later, we were really standing in the creepy space in pitch blackness. If you see black shapes moving in front of your eyes, she calmly informed us, they're shadow spirits. Here's the thing. Black shapes really were moving in front of my eyes. But I'm a skeptical believer. I really want to be convinced, but I'll always look for a rational explanation, and in all truth, this could have been my eyes adjusting to the dark. But then she informs us that someone or something is with us. Excitedly, we ask if it's John. Finally, no, she says, sounding more serious. It's Henry.
Oh my God.
Now our hair is kind of standing up on end since we're all well aware of Henry's reputation at this point. The psychic steels herself and asks Henry if he has a message for us. There's no immediate response, so she tries again. And of course, that's when Marine Guy goes all in. As in, he starts imploring Henry to communicate and even says, and I quote here, "You can use my energy if you need to, Henry." There's a couple of seconds of silence, followed by a slight yelp and a scuffle. Remember, it's completely dark right now. Quickly, we all retreat back to the lit swimming pool area, and Marine Guy looks totally dazed, like completely out of it, as if someone hit him with a blow dart. But his girlfriend lets out a gasp as we notice he has 3 to 4 long scratches running from the top of his head all the way down to his neck, even continuing down his chest under his t-shirt. Did we commiserate with him? Of course not. We all stood around him and took photos like the a-hole paranormal tourists we were. So at this point, I want to make 3 things clear. Marine Guy was standing next to the psychic before she turned off the lights. Even his girlfriend wasn't standing right by him at this point, having moved up the corridor. And the psychic was definitely way too short to reach up to the top of his head to do this to him. If these were actually made by a human being and not a ghost, he had to have done it himself. This guy had been irritatingly chatty at various moments throughout the tour, but I swear from this point to at least 20 minutes after it, he looked genuinely shocked and dazed, drugged even.
Oh my God.
I mean, his girlfriend honestly looked nervous around how he seemed to have changed and if he was okay. If he was acting, I have to say, that was some serious impressive chops. Perhaps most importantly, I want to stress this. I swear I have never seen scratches like that before or since. They were finger-width, raised marks, almost resembling burns. They're like welted up.
Oh my God.
So there you have it. Either this guy somehow attacked himself in a fraction of an instant in a way that looked nothing like a normal scratch, and then gave an Oscar-worthy shell-shocked performance, or he was attacked after misguidedly trying to make contact with a disturbed spirit on the Queen Mary. So this particular month, it turned out she was actually doing 2 tours on consecutive nights. So you guessed it, we totally signed up again. 2 tours and 2 nights. This time we were so hyped, but saw nothing. However, at one point, a nervous member of the group asked if anyone had been attacked on tour, to which she replied, yes, actually, the other night. And we were like, we were there! And everyone huddled around to see our photos.
Wow. See, okay. I believe it because he said, we went again and nothing happened.
Yeah.
If he would have said like, we went again and
same thing was going on.
But he was like, yeah, nothing happened again. So I believe it.
I agree. I liked that story a lot.
I liked this episode.
Me too.
I really did. It was informative. It was fun. It wasn't too scary.
Yes.
Because I don't even remember the last one. The last one we did was scary.
I want to start changing it up. We'll do like really scary to like freak you out, and then do some more informative, good history, run-of-the-mill hauntings.
And then listener stories, of course.
Oh, yes, we have to add those in.
Those are my favorite.
That's what we've got for you guys. So we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us and listen to our rantings on. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know if you've ever been to the Queen Mary. I'd love to hear your stories. I want to visit.
Me too. I really do. I kind of want to go. This is one that's not like, it doesn't feel too sinister for me to go.
Except for maybe we won't stay in room beef 340.
I don't don't know if I'll stay because
Oh,
I
just
don't want
visit?
to. I'm just so afraid of having a really bad like dream or nightmare
Yeah.
because I will.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing me, I will. And it's just like,
Whether it's your imagination or if it's like
real.
spirits.
Yeah, no. Like I'll hang out all night. Like we can like hang around during the day.
And do a tour.
Yeah. And then at night, I'd like to do a tour, but I'll go back to a different hotel.
Okay. Well, put this on our long list of places to visit.
Yes, I'm so down.
Do all the things, like, comment, subscribe to this video, to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on podcast, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, please, for us. If you're on Instagram, you can go ahead and follow us at Ghosties Pod. And if you have your own story, your own encounter you'd like to share with us so we can add you to our list of listener stories, you can send us by email at ghostiespod@gmail.com. So we love reading those. But we're so excited to be going on this adventure with you guys, and we will see you next Monday.
Goodbye.
Bye.